from the launch director for today's launch attempt.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
So with that, Falcon 9 is in full autonomous control of today's launch. Let's listen in for the launch director.
Go for launch.
And that call out indicating that the ground team is ready for today's launch attempt. Weather, payloads, and the range all looking great. Let's watch
T-minus 30 seconds.
as Falcon 9 lifts off to space today.
Fifteen seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and lift off of Bandwagon 1 and ADD 425. Go Falcon, go SpaceX.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
T plus 30 seconds into flight, successful liftoff of Falcon 9 on the Bandwagon 1 mission, carrying 11 customer satellites into orbit today.
Nominal power and telemetry.
We're lifting off from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center, currently throttling down those Merlin 1D engines in preparation for maximum aerodynamic
supersonic
pressure. That's, or max Q, that's the point of highest stresses on the vehicle during ascent.
Max Q.
With that, we are through the highest stresses on the vehicle. Falcon 9 will throttle back up those Merlin 1D engines in preparation for the next major milestone. So coming up in about 45 seconds, we'll have several events in quick succession. The first of those will be MECO, or main engine cutoff. That's where all of those Merlin 1D engines will shut down on the first stage. Then we'll have stage separation. The first stage, or the booster, is going to do a flip maneuver. While that's happening, the second stage is going to ignite its Merlin vacuum engine, and then the first stage is going to start its boost back burn to go towards landing zone 1 to attempt that landing. So MECO, stage separation, the flip maneuver, second engine start, and then boost back burn.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back ignition.
Stage 1, boost back startup.
Awesome views on the lower right there. That was the second stage heading off to orbit. We've got a tracking shot here of the first stage doing its boost back burn. This tracking view from the ground looking back at this first stage. Again, it's 14th flight today, so we're looking for its 14th landing attempt at landing zone number 1. And this is a view from the cameras on board the first stage. We're looking at a shot down towards the engines. Confirmed. You can see the grid fins here. Those will deploy shortly after the boost back burn completes. And a reminder, the second stage is continuing on its mission, but at the request of our customer, we won't be showing any second stage views today. So we're just going to keep focused on the great views we have of the first stage. So what you're seeing here periodically are some white gas coming out of the first stage. On the right-hand box on your screen are the grid fins deploying. We use the aerodynamic grid fins to get the first stage back towards our landing site. They have aerodynamic control of the vehicle once we get into the Earth's atmosphere. Those white plumes that you're seeing are of an attitude control gas. We use, those are referred to as cold gas thrusters. So we have some gas stored on the vehicle, and since there isn't very much atmospheric force this high up in the atmosphere, we have to give ourselves little puffs of thrust to orient the vehicle, get the heat shield pointed down, and get the vehicle in the entry attitude to come back towards landing zone 1. Great shots of planet Earth. Again, the camera on the right-hand side of your screen now is actually looking up through the inner stage. So we're looking into that carbon fiber inner stage. That's where the second stage was previously. And on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got a ground tracking shot of the first stage making its way back towards landing zone 1, not too far from the launch site at Kennedy Space Center. Now we're coming up on the entry burn for the first stage. So there are 2 burns that we do here. There's an entry burn where we turn on just a few of Falcon 9's engines. That's to slow down as we start getting back towards the atmosphere and start to pick up some heating on the vehicle. And then the second of those burns is much closer to landing.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
So here's the first of those burns, the entry burn. This burn lasting just about 20 or so seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Stage 1 FTSO saved.
And there is successful shutdown of the entry burn. So now the next major burn will be the landing burn. That'll happen just before landing. We'll ignite just a single Merlin engine. The landing legs will deploy, and then hopefully we'll have a soft touchdown at landing zone 1. You can see it starting to come into focus here on the view on the right-hand side of your screen, heading towards landing zone 1.
Stage 1 transonic. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTSO saved.
And there is the startup of the single center Merlin engine for landing burn. We'll see the the landing legs deploy here.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And there is successful landing of our first stage.
Stage 1
That
landing
marks
confirmed.
for the 14th landing on this particular booster, 294th landing of an orbital class rocket. We also heard a call out there for
Nominal orbit insertion.
engine cutoff and then nominal orbit insertion. So that means the second stage is well on its way for the rest of our mission. But with our first stage landed, that's going to bring our webcast coverage to a close for today. If you're interested in learning more about today's payloads and the deployments, please head to our customers' websites to find out more information. And we want to thank all of our rideshare customers today for their support on today's mission, all of our viewers for tuning in. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you for the next one.